I'm gonna teach you how me and my friend got over 250,000 streams on a song that we dropped on Spotify, and how we got the first 100,000 in the first month. So as you can see, this is my Spotify page. I'm currently at around 20,000 monthly listeners. And as you can check, the top song, which came out the 28th of May, 2025, over here with around 260,000 streams. And as you can see, looking at the stats on Spotify for artists, we have over here a slow and steady ascension until around a week in, where we got our first big boost. And the peak of our song was when we hit 8,000 streams in a day. You can also see we got into around 4,000 different playlists, with the key ones being radio, which got us around 60,000 streams, and Discover Weekly, which is that big boost at 8,000 streams a day that you saw previously, which got us around 40,000. And then past all the algorithmic playlists, you can see over here all the custom ones that our fans added our song into. So in this video, I'm gonna teach you how we did that with a campaign that we ran on Meta Ads. But before we begin this video, I'm announcing a new service that I'm adding to my website, @alvarorubio.com, and that is my ad agency. Now, if you want to take your music to the next level and want to start investing your money into Facebook and Meta Ads, but don't know how to run the ad yourself, you can reach out to my service and have me manage your ad account to help blow up your song. What sets me apart from other competitors is I'm willing to do ad campaigns for lower budgets. I know a lot of people will only do it if you're going to be spending more than $1,000. But as you can see, we have smaller campaign services like this one for only €300, with the highest one being 700, where you would spend 500 in the ad budget. You simply just have to put in the required information over here, send it over, and I'll reach out and we can get to work on promoting your song. But ad out of the way, let's get right into the video. So as you can see, we're on the ad manager page. And before we get into the details of the campaign that we ran, there are two key things that you're gonna need for your ad. And the first one is a pixel. Now the pixel is gonna be used to essentially track the information of the people who click onto the ad and click on the second thing that we need, which is a landing page. Now, there are two kinds of campaigns that people typically talk about for music promotion, and that is a traffic and a conversion campaign. The difference between the two is that the traffic campaign will send the person directly to your song on Spotify, while the conversion campaign sends people to a landing page where they need to click on the desired streaming service that they want to go into. Now, the reason I and a lot of people recommend a conversion campaign is because it is much easier for bots to fake the illusion of you getting a lot of results on your traffic campaign, as they don't have to go into the second requirement of clicking on a landing page button. Especially if you're targeting more third world countries like Argentina and Brazil. Those are notorious for having a lot of bots that'll affect the campaign. And the reason that's a problem is our goal here specifically is to target a specific subset of people, the specific group of people that are most likely to engage with your song. And the reason is this: the key to Spotify's success is its algorithm and its ability to know in precise detail who are the target audience of specific artists and what other people they can recommend this specific artist to. That's why niches are so important in today's day and age. But what we're gonna do with these Meta ads is basically find that target audience, as Meta will narrow down who is engaging with the ad more and more. And by doing that, we're feeding Spotify with enough information where at a certain point, it'll start recommending our music to people without us having to spend money on an ad. That's where Discover Weekly comes in. That's where radio comes in. In terms of how you get a pixel, if enough people ask for it, I'll make a separate video talking about how to make a meta pixel, as it's very easy, but just requires a few steps. And as for landing pages, there are paid options, but two free ones that I definitely recommend are ToneDen and SubmitHub, which a lot of you might know more for their playlist promotion services, but they also have a landing page feature, which is free and very useful. But now, getting into the ad, this was our formula for dropping. We dropped the song on a Tuesday, and the reason why was so that way we can feed enough information to Spotify before Friday and before all the algorithmic playlists update to make sure that we get a good placement. We spent $100 a day those 3 days leading up to Friday, and then dropped it down to 50 for a few days, then eventually down to 20, as soon as it was optimized enough where we were still getting good results. So as you can see, we started off on a Tuesday, got around 243 plays the first day, and we started off kind of rough because we made a big mistake at the beginning and had one of the main ads turned off. But once that was fixed, it was only uphill from there. Second day, we got 700. Third day, we got basically 1,000. And then as you can see, it only started going up with the algorithmic push until eventually about a week later, boom, 6,800 streams. And then again, 8,000 streams on Wednesday, June 11th. If you look at our cost per result, which is essentially how much money we needed to spend for someone to click not only the link, but also the landing page link, by the end of it, we averaged at around 30 cents per click, which is pretty good. If we look at our ad set, these are the 3 different ad sets that we tried. And our highest performing one with around 1,800 clicks had a cost per result of 29 cents per click. The other one's not too far behind with a 30 and a 40 cents. But how do we make this from scratch? So we're gonna go step by step. And the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna click create. And it's gonna lead us over here. We're gonna choose a buying type at auction. And we're gonna go to engage. And we're gonna click the campaign objective of engagement. And the reason why is for this one over here, conversions. So we're gonna click continue. We're gonna leave it at manual engagement campaign. This one automates and streamlines a lot of stuff, but for music, it doesn't really work as well. And it's better to have more control over who you're targeting. So we're gonna click continue. So if you look over here on your top left, there are 3 divisions for this campaign. At the top is just the full campaign, which contains everything underneath it. The ad set is where we're gonna get specific in terms of our targeting. We're gonna select what locations we wanna target, what interests we wanna target, what age range, etc. And then over here is where we're gonna have the ad. So over here is gonna be the visual. We're gonna put the link to send people to the song. So you can choose between campaign budget or ad set budget, which is essentially how much you'd be spending in each individual ad. But by putting a campaign budget, as it says over here, it'll distribute your budget automatically to the best opportunities across the campaign. So if one ad set is doing better than the others, it'll distribute most of the money to that ad set, which is what we want. If you want to have scheduled budget increases, you can do it over here and choose where it starts and stops. And this is where we focus on the conversion. So in conversion location, we're going to change that to website. Over here, you choose your pixel. In this case, we use my friend's pixel, which he called the God particle. And then we choose the event, which depending on what landing page you have differs. But for ToneDen and Submit Hub, we use view content. And it says over here that your ad may not be optimized for conversions because we haven't received any activity from your pixel in more than 7 days because my friend hasn't run a campaign in the last week. Then we have budget and scheduling. And over here, we're gonna add an ad set spending limit, which we're not gonna do right now. But the important part, we can choose the start date and the end dates. Now, this is where it gets interesting. We do not want an Advantage Plus audience because that gives us very little control of where we're sending it initially. And if we have a good idea of what type of music that we make, then it's a good reference point to start off. Then Meta will narrow down who's a better audience. So we can go over here and click switch to original audience options and use original audience. And typically we try to go for mostly first world countries. So stuff like Australia, Canada, the United States, the UK, etc. As these are usually the places that eventually we would end up touring in, and also the ones that pay the most in terms of streaming revenue. But this really just depends on what audience you're trying to target, where you're from as well, if touring is a factor, and a lot of other things like if you think the people of those countries are wealthy enough to want to invest in merchandise for you. As another thing you can do in the future, once you have sort of collected a strong audience, is then retarget those people and sell them potential merch if you're working on stuff like that. But so far, we just have stuff like this. We just have a lot of European countries, obviously the North American ones, etc. Then we go to age. And if you've already released music in the past, you could go on your Spotify audience tab and look at your demographics. And you can see which are the ages and genders that listen to your music the most. So in a smart world, seeing as 80% of my audience is male and they're in between the 18 to 34 range, you could just do that where you go over here, put it to 34, and then go over here to gender and just put it to men. Although I like having it at both, you know what I mean? I don't discriminate. And now we get to detailed targeting, and this is really key. Unfortunately, Meta Ads has been doing a weird thing lately where instead of narrowing down, they're actually making the targeting more broad, which doesn't really make much sense. So for instance, a lot of bands like MGMT and just specific names that used to be an option in the interest tab, for whatever reason, are just being labeled in as indie rock, indie pop, etc., which makes it more difficult to be as niche as possible. But regardless, what we always do is we start off by putting Spotify or YouTube or whatever's the streaming service that you want to promote, and then clicking define further. And what that does is it'll start off with people that have Spotify as their streaming service, and then says, okay, we want to narrow down from that smaller group of people. And so for instance, we can go with indie rock, pop rock, etc. If you look at our old campaign, we did ad sets based on different things. So we had one for artists, we had one for genre, and we had one for interest as well. And the way we labeled it, if you care to know, is we put over here HP for high paying countries, IG for the app that we were mostly targeting on, as we didn't really use Facebook at all, and then obviously the type of interest that we were targeting. So for artists, we had stuff like Foster the People, MGMT, Gorillaz, Arctic Monkeys. But as you can see, there's now a yellow triangle there because it's been combined into alternative rock, which I don't really understand why they do that. I feel like it's smarter to be as niche and narrow as possible, but unfortunately that's just the decision that they've made. We also did one for genre, so we had indie rock, indie pop, pop rock, independent music. And weirdly enough, the one that did the best out of all of them was actually interest, which for the most part had very little to do with music, as much as it did anime, comic books, skateboarding, streetwear, etc. So I would honestly recommend having, at the minimum, 3 different ad sets with very different types of targeting, just in order to see which one sticks. Because maybe the same visual, in our case, this is the one that had the most success. Will work even better in one ad set than in another. It really depends. Then you can pick which languages you want to target, which is a bit unnecessary unless you're making music in maybe a not so spoken language. And then finally, we get to placements, which again, we did a manual placements selection instead of an automatic one. And we only targeted Instagram, but we only targeted 6 placements. We did Instagram feed, we did an Instagram profile feed, we did the Explore and the Explore home, and then we did Instagram stories and Instagram reels. Those seem to be the ones that perform the best, and a lot of other ones actually eat up the budget a lot and don't get us any result. And then finally, it comes down to the ads that we selected. So we ended up trying 3 different ones. This one is more of a Snapchat skit sort of thing, which transitions to my friend singing his part of the song. We also had another one which just had him and some friends dancing along to the song. And we even hired an animator to do an anime sort of scene during the course of the song. In order to add the link to your landing page, you go on destination and put it in the website URL tab. And to add the video and the caption, you go on add creative. For the video, you click edit media. And for the caption, you go on primary text, which lets you add up to 5 different captions to try out. Now, if you want to duplicate an ad set in order to later change the interests and the topics that you're targeting, you can go over here and either click duplicate if you want to select how many times you want to duplicate it, or you can just do a quick duplicate by clicking this over here. But this is my beginner's guide to how to start a meta ads campaign to promote your new song. Again, if you liked what you saw and are interested in having me run your ad campaign for you, all you have to do is click the first link in the description or the pinned comment, fill out the form that's on the site, and I'll reach out to you so we can get to work. If you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell for more tutorials like this. Leave a like as well. Comment below anything in particular that you want to learn more about. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.